Welcome to the Her Vibe is Pretty podcast, where you'll be guided on how to step up into your evolved woman,
design your dream life, and start living it. Let's get vibey. Hello, all of you beautiful people. Welcome back to this week's episode of Her Vibe is Pretty. You got Sarah and I both together again today.
Woo! I feel like whenever we don't record an episode together, it feels like we haven't recorded together in months, don't you?
Oh, for sure. And that is exactly why I listened to last week's episode this morning to get my dose of Sarah that I was missing so much. And you guys, what an incredible episode. So big thank you to Sarah because wow, that was like, I forgot. So I've gotten a little bit out of my habit of like starting my day with podcasts. Like I used to listen to them in the morning. Like it first started on my commute to work. And then it would be like when I was getting ready during the day. But now that Ava's here, I've completely dropped podcasts. And it felt really, really good to go for a walk. It was a beautiful day. I had Ava in a stroller. She was loving her little baby life. And I was loving my life listening to that podcast. And I just felt so inspired. Like when I got home, I was like, wow, that was exactly what I needed.
That's awesome. It looked like such a vibey morning. I was so happy when you posted that Instagram story this morning.
Yeah.
So good. Well, let's get into this by talking about what's been making us feel vibey, because we actually haven't done that the last two episodes because the episode before last week was with the healing couple and we didn't do it.
Okay. Yep.
So we need to go into all of the things. But first of all, before we get any deeper, I need to share with you guys that this week I am doing a live extravaganza. If you haven't already seen it, it's called Aligned as Fuck, and it's in our Facebook group. So every day this week, I'm live at 10 a.m. We have 2 days of it left, tomorrow and Friday, but the last 3 days, the recordings from those are in our Facebook group. All of the recordings will stay there until Sunday. So if you're listening to this live, then that means you're listening on September 15th. So all of those recordings will be in there until September 19th, probably Sunday night. I'll take them all down. But Aligned as Fuck is just something that I felt very inspired to do. And it's just to provide value to you guys. There's a mix of breathwork sessions and meditations and just other vibey practices that will help get you guys aligned. So join me tomorrow and Friday at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. That's for US and Canada. So you're going to have to convert that to your time zone. But if you've missed the last three, you can hop into our Facebook group. You just type in Her Vibe is Pretty podcast on Facebook and you'll be able to request access to the group. We'll let you right in and you can go back to the practices from the last 3 days and use them to get into alignment, because we all know that alignment is key to a happy and fulfilling life.
Ooh, that is going to be so good. I'm definitely going to tune into that, Sarah, because alignment is key, you guys. Life feels so much better when you're coming from that place of alignment. And it's funny now because as you go through life, there are times where you are like aligned AF and there are times that you are out of alignment. And it's so interesting to feel the difference. And when you have those tools that Sarah will be teaching you in those practices to get yourself back into that like high vibe aligned place, life just flows and feels so much better.
It totally does. And I'm reminded of it all the time. And that's kind of some of the inspiration behind this is this past summer for me was really crazy and chaotic. And there were definitely those times where I dropped out of alignment for like days or weeks on end. And all it takes sometimes is just a simple practice. Like for you this morning, it was just simply listening to a 40-minute podcast on your morning walk and probably taking the morning walk as well. Right. For me, sometimes it's just a simple 10-minute meditation. And all of the practices that I'm teaching in our Facebook group are all at least 30 minutes or less. They're probably going to be more like 20, maybe even shorter than that. But sometimes all it takes is that few minutes of doing something that feels aligning, that connects you to your soul, to snap you back into alignment and to get you back into alignment with creating the life of your dreams, the life that you desire, the life that you are here to live. So come into our Facebook group, join us tomorrow and the next day. This weekend, you can go through the recordings Saturday, Sunday. You can do them at whatever time you desire to, and can't wait to see you there.
Yay.
So let's hop into what's making us feel vibey. Mary, why don't you start?
Yeah. So, okay. If you guys have not listened, we recently recorded an episode with the breathing couple, and that episode was so profound for me. I feel like when I was going back editing through it and pulling good clips, I could have pulled almost the entire episode.
Yeah.
There were so many good takeaways.
It was so good.
Like my desktop is full of clips from that episode because it was so good. And I was just really, really impressed with them. Sarah took their breathwork training course and she just has been raving about it. And you guys, I did it. I committed. I signed up for their breathwork teacher training program because breathwork has been such a profound and influential practice that I started doing for a little over a year now. And I cannot wait to be able to teach and facilitate myself.
Yes.
I am all about trying things out, finding what works, and sharing those life-changing practices with my students, with you guys, like with the world. And yoga obviously has always been my go-to. The yoga changed my life. I'm a very different person in a good way. I'm a better version of myself now after practicing yoga than I was before practicing yoga. It just opened my eyes to so many things and just really, really brought me into this deeper connection with myself. Then throw breath work into the mix and holy shit, like, it just took things for me to the next level. And again, I feel like this new person after having this really consistent breathwork practice. So I am so freaking excited. It starts this upcoming weekend. So it was kind of one of those things that, it just felt so aligning. Like, Sarah was talking earlier. It felt very, very aligning. And I'll be talking more about this practice because even though it felt very aligning, a lot of things came up for me that I've had to work through these last couple weeks, and which brings us into our topic for today. But I'm going to keep that a secret until Sarah shares what she's vibey about.
So good. I'm so freaking excited for you. This is going to be so awesome. And you guys, I'm actually a mentor now for future breathwork mentees, which is so exciting. So I'll be by Mary's side and everybody else in that container, which makes me super stoked. I think there are like 15 people, right? In the container, 15 people becoming breathwork facilitators, which just lights me up. It makes me so happy because the entire world needs breathwork. Like literally every single human on the planet needs breathwork, which means we need more breathwork facilitators. So if this is something that has been, on your mind, then definitely check out the Healing Couple and their program. It is so awesome. And they're launching another one in the winter. You can get on the wait list already. So
yeah, I was going to say they have their wait list open. So if it is something that you're interested in, definitely check it out. And Sarah, you've talked about them before. Obviously, you guys listened to the Healing Couple episode. It was incredible. It was incredible. Even if you don't want to be a breathwork facilitator, please listen to this because it was a really great episode. But they have their wait list open and it'll be kind of fun to share that journey, over the next 8 weeks with you guys and how things are going. And maybe we should record an episode when we're at the graduation.
I was thinking the same thing. We have to.
That'll be so fun. We're doing it.
All right, it's done. We have to think of a good topic. Maybe we can just talk about breathwork again and like everything that we both go through in the next couple of months. But yes, let's add it to the list. Yay. So good. I'm so excited for you.
Thank you.
Okay. What am I feeling vibey about? Well, I'm feeling vibey about being a mentor for the breathwork teacher training. Once again, like going through and seeing everybody who is in that training in that container is awesome. And I'm very, very passionate, and I always have been, about helping people believe in themselves, especially when it comes to building a business or following their dreams, even if it's not having their own business. I have always had this gift of being able to make people believe in themselves more than they believe in themselves. And sometimes getting people to believe in themselves even more than I believe in myself, if we're being completely honest. I'm just really good at that because I truly see, when I look at somebody, I see their highest self. Like I don't see the conditioned mind. I don't see the smallest self. Of course it's there. And of course I'm trained to help people work through the smaller self and the conditioning. But I truly look at humans and see the light inside of them I look at somebody and I see their potential and I see their expansion. So I get really lit up thinking about the fact that there are 15 breathwork mentees that I get to help mentor and guide into their next level. And so that's been making me feel super high vibe. And then also, if you guys have been a listener for a year now, you know that my favorite season is fall. and it is shifting into fall, and I am such that basic bitch that like loves the everything pumpkin and leaves and sweaters and you name it.
Yeah.
It's if it has anything to do with fall, it makes me really, really excited and lit up.
Yeah, fall's a vibe for sure. And you want to know what I'm excited for?
Tell me.
Your pumpkin spice almond butter.
Oh my gosh. Okay, now I'm gonna have to do it. I have not even thought about that, but yum. Yes.
I'm just planting a seed that says, make some for me.
Yes, I'm gonna have to make that for sure. So everything fall is lighting me up, is making me feel so excited. And then also not gonna share a lot of details about this yet, but I am potentially moving out of the country again for the third time in my life. So that's all I'm going to say as of now. But thinking about that expansion and that possibility has been making me feel so freaking vibey.
I love that.
Yeah.
I'm excited for you.
Thank you. All right, let's move into this topic. It's a big one. We talk about it a lot, but we're going to kind of use our way in, which I feel like and tell me if you agree with this, Mary, but I feel like this topic, which I'm just going to introduce it, we're going to talk about abundance today and what abundance is. I feel like Mary and I have dropped a lot of like tidbits on abundance and financial abundance and abundance in general. And we always hint at like, we'll do an episode eventually, but we haven't done it yet. And last week, if you guys listened to my episode on quantum leaping, which goes along with manifesting, I chatted about it a little bit. And so today we're going to take it a little bit further and just continue to break down like abundance in all its many, many, many forms.
You nailed it. You completely nailed it. I think abundance is one of those things you hear that word all the time. And I'm sure everyone understands what that word means, but putting it into practice, living abundantly exactly as you are, can be a whole nother thing and kind of figuring that out. And so that's what, my goal for today's episode is to give you guys a deeper understanding of abundance, of how you can start living more abundantly today and make it a part of your life so that you can continue to live abundantly in years to come. So
I think the first thing to cover for us is talking about what abundance actually is, because I feel like there's a huge misconception. The word abundance, I feel like a lot of the times, and I absolutely fall into this category, it's tied to money. And yes, financial abundance is a thing for sure. And it's a beautiful thing and it's a beautiful creation. But abundance in the word in itself is not like, it does not have to do with money. And I think the biggest thing that I want to get out there in this episode, and I really, really want this to land, is abundance is not something that you do. It's not something that you have. It's not even something that you achieve. Abundance is who you be. Abundance is like who you are. It's an energy. It's a vibration. It's a feeling. It's not like something. Of course, abundance can be created in a lot of different ways, but it's not like like you don't have to take actions or do anything, which is what you were just saying, Mary. You don't have to like do anything to experience abundance. Like you can experience in the here and in the now because it's truly who you be.
Yep. The way that I've narrowed it down in my mind is abundance is a state of mind. Like you say, it's who you are. It's who you be. You could put two people into the exact same situation. One person could feel very, very abundant in that situation, and another person could feel very scarce, very lacking.
Yeah.
It is the same situation, you guys.
Yeah.
That's the key here. It's not about what you have or material things. It's about that feeling. It is a state of mind. Do you feel abundant in your life, or do you feel like you are lacking? Do you focus on what's missing? That to me is another really big point here. Is you've heard us say it on this podcast before, what you focus on, you attract more of. So if you are constantly focusing on what's missing in your life, if you have that scarcity mindset, guess what? You're going to continue to attract more scarcity, more lack. if you are focusing on the things that are abundant in your life, the things that you are grateful for, exactly as you are today, guess what? You're going to continue to attract more and more abundance, and you're going to feel more abundant in your everyday life.
Exactly. I would say that abundance and scarcity, it's an internal thing for sure. And that can be reflected in your external reality. We all know by now, internal reality equals external reality. In my mind, abundance is an internal job. It's a way of being. And then as you master that way of being and feeling into your innate abundance, because our souls were born into these bodies with that innate abundance. Like abundance is our birthright. It's a feeling, kind of just like joy or like expansion or happiness or bliss. Our souls are innately abundant. And once we learn how to master that feeling inside of our bodies, then our external realities start to change and align with that abundance that we feel within, which adds value to the abundance that we already are as a human.
Mm-hmm.
So abundance is like, to me, it's a mix of your thoughts, your subconscious beliefs, your feelings, sometimes your actions, which we're going to get into a little bit. But abundance and scarcity, I want it really to land that it doesn't just have to do with money. There are so many other topics and big life topics that this plays a role in.
Mm-hmm. It kind of, you know what just came to mind to me is like near-death experiences. You know, if you have this like crazy experience where like your life could potentially be taken away from you, but you live,
Mm-hmm.
think about how abundant you feel living your everyday regular life again.
Mm-hmm.
That's another good way to kind of show you, like, it's not about what you have or what you don't have. It's that mindset of like appreciating, acknowledging, and like seeing the things that are already encompassing you in your everyday life.
Yeah.
But what tends to happen is a lot of us, you know, whether we're scrolling on Instagram or online and, you know, we get sucked into like, well, this person has this thing, or, oh, I need more of this to be happier. Like every single thing in marketing is like, if you don't have this, you're not happy. You don't have enough.
Right.
And so we're constantly being bombarded with this, like, no, you don't have everything you need. Or, oh, if you have this, like it'll fix all your problems.
Mm-hmm.
When really the answer is, like you said, turning inward, connecting back to yourself, and then like being so appreciative of all that is already around you.
Yeah. I think the first place to start with this, in my opinion, is figuring out like what abundance actually feels like in your body. So for me, abundance feels like expanded, like expansion, expanded. Abundance feels like presence. It feels like nature. If that's like a feeling, it's a feeling in my system. It feels like openness. It feels like support. It feels like impact. It feels like connection. It feels warm. It feels like wholesome in my body. What does it feel like to you?
Yeah, to me, I love this question. So to me, abundance feels like a very steady, calm, and supported state of being.
Mm-hmm.
Like having that trust, genuinely having that trust that like everything will be okay. I have more than enough.
Mm-hmm.
I will always be supported. I don't need to worry or stress about anything not being there. It's like that confident, calm, I got this, everything's going to be okay feeling every day. And like better than okay, like everything's amazing. Life is good.
Mm-hmm.
I've got this. Anything that comes my way, I've got it. I'm going to figure this out. You know, that's to me the feeling I get when I'm abundant, when I'm very grateful and happy for exactly where I am,
Mm-hmm.
instead of putting that pressure on myself. Like, I need to do more. I always need to be accomplishing things. I always need to be taking things to the next level. Instead, it's like, I'm exactly where I need to be. There's more than enough. And I feel very good about that. Very calm and steady and relaxed.
That's so beautiful, which is why all the work that we guide you guys to do on the podcast can really help shift this for you, because all of the work and all of the topics that we talk about here on the Her Vibe is Pretty podcast really are meant to help guide you into everything that we just explained. So the first step is just to figure out, what does abundance feel like to you, and how can you start to cultivate that feeling now without shifting anything outside of you, without having more money, without having 26 hours in the day instead of 24, without having whatever it is your mind thinks that like when I have more of this, then I'll feel abundant. That's not true. How can you cultivate those feelings? First of all, what does abundance feel like? And then how can you feel more of that now? So obviously, we both, I know I can speak for Mary and I both when I say this, but breath work creates and cultivates those feelings and sensations that we just described for us personally. For me, meditating feels like that. So something that I actually want to share with you guys, an example of how this works in life, because a lot of times we think abundance equals more of something. And that's when we are associating the word abundance with our external environment, that's kind of what it's attached to. But sometimes abundance is the opposite of that. Sometimes abundance is the opposite of a lot, but it's actually less. Kind of like the quote, less is more.
Yeah.
And I don't always believe in that quote, but sometimes I do. So I was telling Mary before we started recording that a couple days ago, Zach and I decided to go through our closets, and we decided to get rid of everything in our closets that we haven't worn in a year. And he got rid of 5 bags and I got rid of 2. And I'm hoping to do another purge again soon, because my intention was to get rid of more, but I'm just very into my clothing. Anyway, point is, we got rid of things. So we lessened the things in our closets, which made us feel more abundant. So that's kind of where earlier I said abundance is like your thoughts, your beliefs, feelings, and sometimes your actions. This action helped us cultivate the feeling of abundance in our body. But it's funny because, once again, abundance is usually tied with more of something. But we got rid of a lot of our clothes, brought you to Goodwill, and then are donating the rest to the rescue mission. And getting rid of those clothes from our closets truly made us feel more abundant.
That's a really, really good example, because I know that feeling. And as you're talking about this, I'm like, okay, when can I go clear out my closet? Because right now I have an abundance of clothes in my closet, and a lot of them I don't wear. They're literally just taking up space and making me feel heavy and cluttered. And I can see how that feeling of like letting go and releasing those things that you are not using, that someone else I'm sure will treasure dearly, that's a good feeling. That's an abundant feeling.
Well, and it's because, and actually you're the one who mentioned this to me, you said something about the space that's creating. And that's true, because abundance also feels like spaciousness in my body. Like that's what it feels like for me to feel abundant, is spacious. And so when you're doing something like removing clothing, or now that I'm thinking about it, going through my cupboards and throwing away any food that's expired. Like, we all have those box foods or like those canned foods in our cupboards that are expired, or
with the cobwebs on them. And
exactly. Like doing that, going through the cupboards, getting rid of things, organizing, it always makes me feel more abundant. And it's because it's creating more space in my life, which is reflected into my body.
Right. So an example, this is one that I've had my entire life, is that whenever I have, whether it's like expensive, like right now it's expensive hair products, but like expensive makeup or something like that, that I've spent a lot of money on, I can feel my scarcity creeping in when I use it, because I have this feeling like I can't use this. I need to save it. I need to savor it. I need to like make it last forever. And then I don't even really get to enjoy using it because I'm so focused on it running out, and it ruins the enjoyment of this expensive, amazing product that I have. And that's something that I feel like is always like, every time I wash my hair, I have to almost like talk myself out of that way of thinking. And it just shows you, like, instead of feeling like it's going to run out and focusing on that, instead I try enjoying the whatever it is, enjoying it, feeling how like luxurious my hair feels after I use it, enjoying the process of using that product. That's a way to feel abundant, using something instead of feeling scarce or feeling like it's going to run out or you don't have enough.
Yeah, that's a good one. It's all about like shifting and just being emotionally intelligent, really, is what it comes down to. And starting to pay attention to where scarcity plays a role in your life and where abundance plays a role in your life, because I know you've all felt and experienced abundance in one way or another. And I'm sure that you guys could give us so many examples of how you felt abundant and how and when you felt scarce. And so it's really just inviting the emotional intelligence into your system, into your life experience, to be able to observe situations like that, what you just explained, like when that scarcity is coming up, and then asking yourself really the biggest question that you get to come back to with this is this an ultimate truth? So like for you, Mary, the thoughts in your head were like, I don't know, what are the thoughts in your head when you're using those expensive products, like the scarce thoughts?
Well, okay, actually, I think let me give you another example because, and I think this will be a really fun one to talk through because this is the one that recently has been creeping up on me.
Mm-hmm.
So like I told you guys, what I'm feeling vibey about, I just signed up for breathwork training, and as aligned as it felt, I immediately started feeling those scarce thoughts start to creep in three ways. One of them being money, another one being time, having a baby and trying to juggle starting training.
Mm-hmm.
And then the last one is my breast milk, which I will save that example for the end. But let's start with the money, because as soon as I signed up or looked into signing up, it's an investment to do any sort of intensive training like this breathwork training. And even though I have plenty of money to pay towards doing something like this, I still felt that scarcity of like, well, is it going to be worth it? What if I don't end up using this training at all? What if my business starts to slow down and then I can't, kind of replenish that money? I start hearing thoughts like that start to creep in. And it goes to show you that, again, it's not about your physical reality. It's all about your mindset. I had the money that I can put towards this training available, and it didn't matter. I still had it, and I still had those thoughts start to creep in. And again, that's where I started to tell myself, okay, I can feel myself thinking that I don't have enough, or what if it's a waste, or those sort of thoughts. And instead, getting into the feeling of abundance of like, what if I make tons of money from this training and offering this to other people? What if this is one of those life-changing things? Like, how can you put a price on something that's going to change your life? Like, and that feeling just feels so much better in the body. And it's so true. Same with time, how I start thinking like, how am I going to juggle this? Like the babysitter that I have is in school, so she's not always available. Like Jake has to work full time. I don't know if I'm going to have, the time to do this because I have a young baby. But instead it's like, okay, let's get creative. How can I start to, who can I ask? Like, what friends do I have that have flexibility that would be able to pitch in if I needed? Maybe Jake could take a half day if he needed to on some of the training days. Like maybe my babysitter is going to be available that day. And shifting to that thought, getting creative about the outcome that could be. And then literally, LOL, you guys, this was another one of the thoughts was like, okay, well, because I'm exclusively feeding Ava right now, breastfeeding Ava. And so I was thinking, oh my God, I'm not going to have enough milk saved up for her while we're gone. And I'm going to have to I'm going to be in Austin, Texas for the graduation. So how am I going to bring my pump? Like, what am I going to do with the milk? Do I just throw it away and waste it? Like, if I can't bring the milk back, then what's the point of even going to this graduation or even doing this training? And you guys, like these crazy thoughts were going through my head. And it's like, girl, people do this kind of stuff all the time. There are ways around it. Like, get creative. But
okay, real quick, I want to jump in before you finish the thought. What you're doing right now is literally the definition of emotional intelligence. It's you caught your scarce thoughts and you shifted them and thought the opposite. And that's not always easy for everybody to do, especially if you're listening to this and this is like the first episode you've ever listened to of ours. So the question that I was referring to a second ago, and we're going to go through it with all of your examples, you get to ask yourself over and over. When you notice those scarce thoughts, you get to ask yourself, is this an ultimate truth? So like, back it up with the money and the thoughts of like, well, what if this doesn't work? Is that an ultimate truth that it's not going to work?
Yeah, no.
Well, what if I run out of money? Is it an ultimate truth that you're going to run out of money? No. So you get to keep asking yourself that. And then same with time. Like, isn't it an ultimate truth that nobody's going to be able to help me with my baby? No. Isn't an ultimate truth that my babysitter, our minds like to make up these stories. Isn't an ultimate truth that I don't know how to ask the question for the breast milk because I'm not a mom yet, but you get what I'm saying.
Yes.
That question you guys get to come back to. If you notice yourself going into that scarce mindset, start pulling that question in. Is this an ultimate truth? Is this an ultimate truth? Is this an ultimate truth? Most of the time, the answer is going to be no. And then that's going to help you then shift into that more abundant thinking.
1,000,000%. Like, yes, yes, yes. And that practice, like I was telling Sarah before, as I was explaining this situation to her, I'm like, abundance, I need to talk about this because I've been working on this myself. And like, that's what I want to reinforce to you guys is, this is something that I have been teaching. I am practicing myself and it still creeps in, it still happens sometimes. And instead of getting down on myself or just like letting myself fall down this like scarcity black hole, it gives us opportunities to practice being bigger, expanding more, getting creative with things. Like, don't cut yourself short by letting those scarce thoughts and those excuses like nip your dreams and like cut out whatever you're trying to do. Like, let yourself be bigger, let yourself live life.
Yeah.
And you'll be amazed at what you're capable of doing when you start asking yourself that question. Is this an ultimate truth? It's so powerful.
I feel like letting scarcity and that scarcity wounding control. First of all, know that you guys, the scarce parts of us come from that mind who is always in a place of survival, right? Trying to survive. And so it's going to look at the scarcity because it thinks that if you look at the scarcity, it equals survival, which is not the case anymore. Maybe once upon a time, way back in the day it was, but your soul, your evolved self is innately abundant and wants you to thrive. And sometimes I feel like the scarcity, what did you just call it? Like the scarcity rabbit hole. I feel like sometimes that's like a way that our minds self-sabotage our potential.
Oh, exactly.
It's like a self-sabotagey thing because
think of how many times like you have thought to yourself, like, oh, I'd love to do that, but I can't because you are so quick to make an excuse or like come up with this reason of like why it isn't going to work and why it can't work or why you shouldn't be the one doing it. And that sucks. Like, who wants to live their life that way?
Yeah. Nobody.
Live bigger, you guys.
Yeah.
Shoot for the stars.
The thing is, we live in a very infinite universe. Like it's legit infinite. I always ask, and this question always trips me out every time I think about it. But like the question I always come back to is, okay, we live on Earth. What's outside of Earth? The solar system. What's outside of the solar system? The universe. What's outside of the universe? Other galaxies. Like, what's outside of that? Well, what's outside of that? Well, then what's outside of that? Okay, but once you get to the end of that, what's outside of that? You can literally keep asking yourself that. And it blows the mind because it's like, wait, what? When does it end? And once it ends, well, what's outside of that? This universe is infinite. And we are so deeply connected to the entire universe. The universe is made up of energy, and so are we. So if we choose to buy into the belief, and because we get to choose our beliefs here, sometimes I look at life as one big game. Like, we're here just playing a real life video game. And if we choose to buy into the belief that the universe is infinite and we will always be supported no matter what, that will be your reality. And I'm literally living proof of that because you guys know. And so the other one with me, you brought up breathwork teacher training, and that's the one that I would say that I'm not, and I just invested in a coach paying $700 a month for this coach. And honestly, doing that, I had zero problem doing it. She told me the price and I'm like, let's do it. And it's because I've practiced this so much by now. You guys all have heard, I have a whole episode on it talking about how much money I've invested in myself. And at one point I was literally living paycheck to paycheck while doing that. Like literally living on paycheck to paycheck, living on credit cards. And that was scary. And it was when I was starting to work on shifting from scarce energy into abundant energy. And during that time, I was living paycheck to paycheck and on credit cards. I kept telling myself, and I chose to buy into belief, I will always be supported. I will always make the money back. The credit cards will be paid off eventually. Like, it's all going to work out. It's all going to work out. I am so fully supported and I'm doing this to better myself, which is then in turn going to better the world. And for that reason, because my intentions are so pure and so amazing, I'm going to be supported through all of that. And guess what? I was. So even though I might not be in that situation anymore, I once was. And I decided to buy into the belief that I'm always supported and everything's always going to work out. That helped me shift into this abundant energy. And now that's where I live from. And it reflects in my external reality now.
Beautiful. It's such a good feeling. It's so much better. Like, I don't know, you guys, like pause and think about it. Like everything works out. You know what I'm saying? Like everything works out in the end. It always works out in the end. Like think of a time that you were in distress.
Yeah.
And chances are you were probably like overthinking, over worrying, like getting trapped in that scarcity use mentality.
Yeah.
You get to choose. Like you get to choose.
Well, and think about it. We've talked about Tori Washington before on this, and Tori Washington's very open about this, but this individual was bankrupt. So in her, like, I'm sure at that point in her life, in her mind, and I actually have another mentor who was literally homeless and now she's a multimillionaire. But my point to sharing these things is like, Mary, you said like it always works out. Well, even if it quote unquote doesn't work out, which for some people's minds, it not working out is ending up bankrupt or homeless, you're still supported. Like you still are divinely supported. And it's very, and when I say supported, I don't mean supported by others. Let me just get that straight with you guys. I don't mean like you're supported by other people in life. Some of you may be, that's great. But I mean like you're supported by your evolved self, by your soul, by whatever you believe in, the higher power, the universe, God, whatever it is, like you are always supported. It will always work out. And then same. So once again, we're not just talking about money here with like, I'm trying to think of, actually, Mary, you were like kind of going through this last week and I'm going to use you as an example. I hope you don't care. I'm sure you won't, but I have the same thing happening. Last week, you were getting your launch ready for your app rebrand. And there was a point where you said to me like, oh my gosh, there's just like so much to get done. And then you and I talked about it. You're like, nope, it's going to get done. And it did.
Yep.
And even if it didn't, like you would have sent out the app and it would have been great and everybody would have loved it anyway. It's like things are always going to work out as long as you put your full faith, belief, and trust in that. Yes. And that is practicing and embodying abundance, truly.
Give yourself permission, you guys, to trust, to lean into abundance, to have fun, to celebrate, to live your best life now, and not let yourself get caught up in scarcity. Scarcity is going to keep you small.
Yeah.
Regardless of whatever situation you're in, and abundance is going to make you feel bigger, bolder, more alive than ever. Again, regardless of whatever situation you're in.
And I would say like tapping into that innate abundance it takes practice for sure. But in the meantime, as you're starting to just kind of explore and discover like, what is abundance to me? What does abundance feel like to me? There are little things that you can actually like do to help you cultivate that costs nothing. So for me, being in nature is just, I always can connect to the feeling of abundance when I'm in nature. Abundance is in and around us. Like you can see billions of leaves around you, billions of pieces of grass, billions of pieces of sand, lots and lots of trees, lots of whatever it is when you're in nature. Like we are so connected to nature. We really are. I probably sound like a total tree hugger and I'm so proud of that.
Yeah, that's
like once upon a time, I grew up with the story that like, oh, so-and-so's a tree hugger. Like it was like a weird thing. And I am absolutely so freaking proud of being a tree hugger now because we are so connected to nature. Like we are one and the same, just a little different, but we are one and the same. We come from the same place. And so that's why I feel like I feel so abundant in nature. And I feel like all of us can access that abundance in nature because when you're walking around in nature, you realize that nature is us and we are it, and it is innately abundant. So are we.
Yeah.
So
a practice that I love is taking a moment. It's a gratitude list. And it's taking that moment to pause and look around you and appreciate all of the things that you already have surrounding you. Love, relationships, practices, take a moment to pause and be grateful for those things. And it could be like, I remember there was a quote that was like, what if you woke up tomorrow with only the things that you thanked God for the day before?
Yeah.
And that's kind of a fun way to think about it, you know, kind of as like that thought provoking, like what are
Mhm.
all the things that you are so grateful that you have that are already there for you, instead of what I think a lot of us can sometimes default into, like, well, I don't have this, or I need more of
Yeah.
this. You know, what do you have now? That's a practice that always makes me feel so truly abundant.
So for our social media post this week, I want you guys to go comment on the post that we post. So we'll post Tuesday and Wednesday, and I want you guys to comment and share with us things that make you feel abundant, or like what abundance feels like to you. Just share that in the comments. Let's get a train going. And
Oh my gosh, a train. Do you remember that we used to have trains all the time.
all the time, we need to
Abundance
start it
train, you
again.
guys.
So good. Maybe, yeah. Let's definitely do that on our Instagram. Maybe we can do it on our Facebook too. But I want to end this show by also saying that it is also okay to desire an abundance of something outside of you, right? Like it's okay to desire an abundance of money in your bank account. It's okay to desire an abundance of time to do things that you love to do. It's okay to desire those things, and you're never going to experience them if you don't first cultivate the abundance within, because external reality is a direct reflection of what's happening internally. The more you can tap into this abundance, the more you'll start to realize that, oh, I have more money in my bank account. Oh, I have more time to do the things that I love to do. It's not a bad thing. It's a beautiful thing to desire that abundance in your external world. But if you just live a life feeling scarce and buying into the scarcity and the scarce beliefs, it's never going to happen.
Yep. You're going to keep attracting more of that.
Right. Exactly.
I love
So
that so
good.
much.
So that is your episode on abundance, your first of many. And yeah, so just share with us what abundance feels like to you, how you like to feel abundant, what kind of things make you feel abundant. And we'll get a train going, and we'll all co-create this abundant feeling and live our best abundant lives together.
Amazing. Thank you guys so much for being here. Go out there, live your biggest, fullest, most abundant life.
Yes.
And you will catch us here next week on Her Vibe is Pretty.
We love you guys. Bye.